Today I'm installing automatic reversers on the main line of my N-scale model railroad. Let's go trackside and I will show you how I'm doing it. I'm Roy Smith. Thanks for joining me today. You often hear about using automatic reversers to change the polarity in reversing loops, as well as in wyes and at turntables. But using them on the main line, well, there doesn't seem to be even one word about doing that on YouTube or anywhere else on the internet. Even the instructions that come with ARs say nothing about using them to reverse the polarity on main lines. Back in August 10th of last year, 2019, I uploaded a video called A Task-Oriented Approach to Model Railroading. In that video, you saw me trying to install a Digitrax AR-1 to change the polarity in a section of mainline track on my layout, as required by the configuration of the track plan. And as you also saw, it didn't work. Here's a short clip from that video. I went to install the AR1 on track 1 here at White Mountain. From here, track 1 continues on over to Pocatello. In order to understand why I may have to install an AR1 here, I must show you this highly simplified schematic of my track plan, because the schematic will reveal why a reversal in the track polarity occurs on track 1 in the first place. Note that the white boxes on the schematic represent rails to which I connect the white wire of the cathode terminal unijoiners, as cathode calls its drop feeders. And the blue boxes represent the connections of blue wire terminal unijoiners. Now, why does that highly undesirable reversal in the polarity in the rails occur in the first place? Well, to see why it occurs, just follow the red arrow. Starting here at what is Evanston on my layout, the white wire is on the front rail and the blue wire is on the back rail. But look what happens as you go around this curve. The white rail is now in the back and the blue rail is in the front. It continues this way on through what is Pocatello. That is, the blue rail is on the front. And here's where the problem shows up. As you come to White Mountain, you can see that the polarities do not match. This, of course, causes an electrical short. Something is terribly wrong. Let me show you. When the locomotive crosses the insulated rail joiners, a short occurs and the power cab shuts down. So the following week, on August 17th of 2019, I uploaded a video called No AR1s on My Railroad. I had concluded that either my AR1 was damaged or that it simply couldn't do what I needed it to do. So in this second video, I showed you that instead of using an AR1, I decided to change my track plan to eliminate the need for an automatic reverser. I did that, and it did indeed eliminate the need for an auto reverser. But I wasn't entirely happy with the change in the track plan either, because it required me to use a double crossover. But since using an AR1 to fix this polarity issue didn't work, I had to do something different. You can see that I have removed the straight sections of track that were here and have replaced them with a double crossover. But there were two things that I had to do to make this idea work. First, I had to cut the rails as indicated here using my rail cutters. These were the only cuts that were necessary because the other rails in the crossover are already insulated. The second thing I had to do was to install drop feeders as indicated by the short blue and white lines. This is not the way you normally install feeder wires for a double crossover. But it's the way I had to do it to fix my track polarity issue. Trains running through the double crossover will always cross over to the adjacent track as they go through the double crossover. They will never go straight through. Well, as you can see, it's working, and I didn't need to install an AR1 or other auto reverser. I will put a link to both of those videos down below so that you can go back and watch them in their entirety if you wish. Well, we model railroaders are a persistent bunch. So as I'm about to show you, I bought and installed a new AR1. As you will see, this new AR1 did reverse the polarity in the section of the mainline track, but it did not function to my total satisfaction. So later on, I replaced it with an NCE AR10. Here's the new AR1 installed. We'll come back to it in a moment. The first thing I did was to remove that double crossover in circle 1. As I said before, this double crossover did eliminate the need to reverse the track polarity at the time I installed it, but it was neither prototypical nor elegant. Then I realigned the tracks on the lift-up bridge in circle 2. It seems like we model railroaders never get done making these kinds of changes on our layouts. Of course, let me say, as an aside, that it's easy to make these kinds of changes when using Cato Unitrack. Slowly swinging the camera around so that you don't get dizzy. Let me show you where I removed that double crossover. As you can see, I replaced it with sections of straight track. And this, of course, is the double crossover that I removed. Now let's move over to the lift-up bridge, slowly again so that you don't get dizzy. I realigned the tracks here as I mentioned earlier. As I made these changes in the track, I inserted insulated rail joiners here at points A and B, effectively isolating the section of track between them. The track between points A and B is 14 feet long, and that's far longer than the longest trains that I run on my layout. But you have to be careful when making track changes like these because you can inadvertently get caught up in another problem in track polarity. I did, and it should have been obvious to me, but it took me a long time to figure it out. The track coming over from Pocatello has the white wire on the front rail, while the track coming up from staging has the blue wire on the front rail. Connecting these tracks thus caused a short that shut down my power cab. So I will have to install an auto reverser on this section of track as well. Now then, back to the AR1 itself. The instructions that come with it are pretty much useless. Fortunately, wiring it is simple enough. One set of wires comes from the mainline track outside of the isolated section and connects two terminals on the AR1 as shown. Later on, I will connect these wires to the layout bus wires under the layout instead of the track. The other set of wires goes from the AR1 to the isolated section of track. There are no other drop feeders within the isolated section of track. Any drop feeders going to the isolated section must pass through the AR1. There, it's all wired up. Let's try it out. Did you see the momentary hesitation as the locomotives passed over the insulated rail joiners? It may be possible to fix this problem by repeatedly adjusting the tunable trip current knob on the AR1. I certainly tried to do this repeatedly, but I couldn't get it to work perfectly. So I replaced the Digitrax AR1 with an NCE AR10. Unlike the Digitrax AR1, the NCE AR10 has a solid-state design that provides silent operation. It has LED indicator lights, but perhaps best of all, it doesn't have one of those frustrating tunable trip current adjustment knobs that you have to adjust over and over in hopes of getting the trip current set just right. The instructions for the NCE AR10 are detailed, but so simple that even I could understand them. I will put a link down below where you can go to find PDF instructions online for the AR10. It does cost twice as much as the AR1, but to me it's worth it if it works flawlessly. There, I have connected the AR10 using the same wires that I used previously for the Digitrax AR1. As you can see, the green LED is lit, meaning that the track polarity is good to go. A red LED would light up if there's a short. In time, I will mount it under the layout. Okay, let's try it out to see if it works. As you can see, there is no hesitation, and unlike the AR1, it makes absolutely no noise. Here's a covered hopper train leaving Evanston. It passes through Granger Junction. It's now heading westbound on the isolated section of track. And the locomotive crosses the insulated rail joiners with no hesitation and no drop in sound. I gotta tell you, it sure feels good to overcome a problem that has frustrated me for such a long time. Well, thanks for letting me share this success story with you. I believe that sharing the hobby is the best part of model railroading. So I hope that you will share your thoughts and your experiences with automatic reversers in the comments section down below. And don't forget, there are nearly 300 other videos for you to watch right here on this channel. I will put a link to my videos page down below. Or you can go directly to my previous videos about automatic reversers and track polarity just by clicking on them over here. Thanks again for joining me today. I'm Roy Smith. Until next time, happy railroading.